Okay, last part of the lesson 7.01, the Great American Desert lesson. We had finished the textbook reading. Now we're going to finish the rest of the lesson reading. The Cowboys. In movies, books, and video games, the American cowboy is often portrayed as a gunslinging outlaw battling the town sheriff or fighting Indians on the plains and deserts of the American West. This romanticized and mythic view of the American cowboy is far removed from reality. A cowboy is really an animal herder, someone who tends cattle on ranches, most often while on horseback. Cowboys also perform other ranch-related jobs such as building or repairing fences. Cowboy is an English translation of vaquero, a Spanish word for a person who manages cattle while mounted on horseback. The Spanish style of cattle ranching, using vast amounts of land to provide sufficient forage for large herds, was imported to New Spain, which later became Mexico and the southwestern United States. After the Civil War, former soldiers went west in search of adventure and work. There were others, restless white men seeking change or adventure, and African American freedmen hoping to escape the racism and poverty of a post-Reconstruction South. Many of these men became cowboys. Already in the region, a significant number of Mexicans and Native Americans were already working as cowboys or would become cowboys as well. Nearly all cowboys were men, although some women may have worked during driving cattle. Women did, however, undertake ranch work, especially the wives and daughters of men who owned small ranches. Cowboys began their careers as adolescents and started earning wages as soon as they had acquired enough skill to be hired, sometimes as young as 12 or 13. Many would handle cattle or horses for the remainder of their working lives. And here it says, view a gallery of ethnically diverse cowboys from the late 1800s. Native Americans from many regions of the United States worked as cowboys. These are Seminole Indians from Florida. Cowboys in Florida were called Florida cow hunters or cracker cowboys. In California, many Mexicans worked as cowboys and were known as California vaqueros or buckaroos. Many stayed on the same ranch where they were born or had grown up and raised their families there. By some estimates, at least 5,000 black men had worked as cowboys by the time the huge cattle drives ended. Some came west to escape the poverty and racism of the post-Reconstruction South. Others already in the region brought decades earlier by white landowners. Black cowboys encountered less discrimination along the cattle trail than in most other occupations at the time. The origins of the cowboy stretch back to the days when longhorn cattle roamed the wide open ranges of the Texas plains. Herding these animals required the use of horses. Cowboys became expert horsemen, able to lasso a running steer from a galloping horse. It wasn't easy making a living as a cowboy. A cowboy spent most of the day in the saddle, never knowing what he might have to face before the sun set in the western sky. On the trail, cowboys worked in shifts, 24 hours a day, driving the cattle during the day and watching them at night. They encountered every kind of weather, from hot, dry conditions to thunderstorms and hailstorms. They had to cross rivers that were often swollen from heavy rains. A sudden stampede could easily take a life or maim an unwary cowboy. These hardships interrupted the otherwise day-to-day boredom of life on the trail. The cowboy unlucky enough to make the trail boss mad might find himself riding at the rear of the herd and eating dust the entire way. For all of this, they earned about $25 a month. And that's the end of the lesson. Make sure you go to the 7.01 checkpoint. You are able to use your reading guide on the checkpoint, finish the checkpoint, and you'll be done with the 7.01 lesson.